Hi guys, welcome back. This is part 13. In this video we're going to talk about lighting up your dollhouse. Alright guys, we are going to install some lights into a couple of the rooms. Now I've gone over information about string lights that are really important and it was worth watching, so if you missed that you need to go back to the introduction and watch my information about the different kind of lights that you can get and how to avoid being disappointed. So with that being said, I'm going to take this 3-foot strand of lights that I got at the dollar store and I'm going to install them into a couple of rooms. There's actually a couple of ways that you can install these lights, and one way is way easier than the other. I'm going to include two different ways just in case you'd prefer to do it by installing lights from room to room. There's actually an easier way. So the first clip I'm going to show you is how to get them from this room to this room without anything on the exterior. And then in the next clip after that one, I will show you how I've installed lights into my gnome home. A lot of my lights were installed after it was built, so there's different ways that you can do this. So let's watch the first way, and then after that clip is done, I'll take you over to the gnome home. What I did to start my hole in my ceiling, you can see I did a little bit of damage there, but it's nothing that won't be hidden. I used an awl first. Well, where is my awl? It is here it is. So this pointy thing here, and I just poked a hole and I poked it to the other side. Then I used a knife and I put it in there and back and forth until I had the hole big enough for my light. Alright, finally after a little bit of messing around in there, I finally got the string through. And again, if you're going to do the same thing and you're able to think ahead about your design, which I'm unable to do always. I'm not a planner, so I always have to wing my way along. Just make sure that the area that you're building your lights into, that you can actually get through there. And you could build this in before you even add any of the plaster and stuff. But if you're adding it in after, then here's an option. Because I am building a bark all around here, so these wires here that I'm going to hide right here are going to be well hidden, because there's going to be another layer of bark. Alright, you can see that I've added masking tape here to hold these lights in place, and I'm going to secure those in a minute. You can see the masking tape is falling down here, so that's not the permanent solution. I'm just using the masking tape to hold it for me like a second pair of hands while I get them permanently attached. But I want to take you over to my gnome home, and I'm going to show you a different way that you can bury these lights. Alright, we're at the gnome home, and you know that the main part of the house has one 14-foot string that runs through all the ceilings, and then the battery pack is hidden underneath there. I also had to add another string of lights because I added these additions up here. And while I was doing that, I actually worked the lights into the material. So I'm going to turn the lights on so you can see. So you can see all the string has been buried into my homemade clay. So I held the string in with masking tape first, and then I put the clay all around the string. And these LED lights, you can also bury them completely. So if you want to put a string around and one of the lights is going to be in the way of, let's say, a window, or you want to put something else there, you can actually bury that and nothing will happen because those don't get hot. So that's also an option. I've done that actually on this house. I've buried some lights into the bark and nobody would even know that they're there. And the other thing is, when you're doing that, think about your design, because you could actually work these little LED lights, you could work them on the side of a door, say, and put a little lampshade on them, and then you'd have an outdoor light. So that, you know, there's all sorts of options that you could do with these string lights. Alright, so I could have worked these into the material, like add my plaster all around the string like I did in the other one. But I don't really need to do that here because honestly the bark's going to drop down and then I'm not even going to see that. So I'm just going to add some reinforcements there to hold the lights in place, and I won't have to worry about plastering it again. And in my gnome home, lights usually go all through the ceiling. The reason why I didn't add lights into the ceiling here and give it more light is because I'm thinking about, in the future, adding some of those decorative logs that go across, or like a, I don't know what you call them. And they're like ceiling braces, but they're real decorative and they look really cute when they're up. So to hold my masking tape up there, I'm just going to add, this is a piece of fabric, and I'm just going to add this in around that masking tape. So I got one end in, and this one can come up here because, like I said, I'm going to be putting bark there. And there we go. So now that masking tape isn't going to fall down on me. Just make sure I don't have to mess with that masking tape in the future. And once hot glue and fabric gets together, it's difficult to pull off anywhere. And in the future too, I can always reach in here if anything should happen and fix those lights. Alright, so I showed you the option of running the lights right through walls. You can put a little hole in and run them through, and that's a good way of hiding them. But on a dollhouse like this, you honestly don't have to do that. In my gnome home, I ran them from ceiling to ceiling, and they came wrapped around walls, and like I showed you in the tower, you can just cover the wires with your material. So even if you've already put bark on and now you want to add lights, you can do that because you can cover up the bark with more bark. That's the great thing about working with this kind of material, because you can always add over layers, and the only thing that will happen is going to add more character to your home. So the reason why I waited so long to show you how to do the lights was because, well, we all know that my lights were a bit of a disappointment. I was waiting for that 33-foot string, and I had a different idea in mind. I was going to start at the top of my house and work my way down, just like I did in my gnome home. So I'd be working from ceiling to ceiling all the way down, and then I was going to hide the battery pack down here somewhere. But it didn't work out that way. So I didn't know I had these lights on hand. I actually found these ones in my stash. So knowing now that my plans have changed, I won't be worrying about installing lights as I work, unless I'm plastering walls and stuff like that and I want to work them into the ceiling or whatever, just like I showed you with that tower. But as you can see, you can work the lights in after you've built your house. So don't worry about it. If you got lights on order, don't worry. You can add them in like I've just showed you after you've finished building. So now we'll talk about burying the battery pack, and you can do it all sorts of different ways. I'm just going to give you an idea of what I'm doing with mine. Mine is most likely going to come out here on this side somewhere. I'm going to put a hole here in the tin foil, and this isn't going to be done for a long time yet, so that's why I'm showing you now, so it gives you an idea, so you don't have to wait around for me to finish. So I'm going to put a little hole there, and that battery pack's going to sit inside that hole, and I'm going to have a fake door that I can, well, not a fake door, it's going to be a real door. And it's going to be built into the tree, and I'm going to make it part of the decor. It'll be a wooden door, and then I could open it up, and I'll have the string long enough where I could pull this out far enough where I could change the batteries. And then that's hidden away, and then when you want to turn the lights on, then you open up the door, and you just flick the lights on. I'll show you where this one is hiding. So this one, above the front door, see how I have to reach up above the front door. No one would have any idea that's there. And there's my battery pack. And if you don't have a string of lights and you're working with those night lights, on a place like this one, I could put this night light somewhere in the front here, and then drop the bark down far enough to hide that. I know this is a big one, but if I had a little one, say, little one here, I could hide that up. Maybe here. I could put it up here in the corner, work the bark around it where you couldn't see it from the outside, and then you'd have a light that way. And that gives a lot of light in there. Alright guys, I hope you found that helpful. So we'll end the video here, and I can send you on over to part 14 where we're going to work on this room.